They are sending coordinates for a space station where we can hold formal discussions. The Council space station was called Haven Point. It floated in the middle of Sector 7, like a metal flower in a garden of stars. For centuries, it had served as a place for diplomacy. Wars had been stopped here. Treaties had been signed here. New species had been welcomed into the galactic community here. But the beings who worked on Haven Point had never seen anything like what was coming toward them now. Station. Master Krell watched through his observation window as the human fleet approached. The Titan-class warship moved slowly, carefully, like a giant being aware of its own size. The smaller escort ships stayed close to it, moving in perfect formation. They handle their vessels well, Krell admitted to his assistant. That is not easy to do with ships of that size. His assistant, a young Vorn named Bro, was shaking visibly. Sir, should we not evacuate? What if they attack? If they wanted to attack, we would already be dead. Krell's voice was calm, but his hearts were beating fast. Look at the power readings from that ship. It could destroy this station with a single shot. It could probably destroy our entire defense fleet without trying very hard. Then why are we not running? Krell turned to look at the young Vorn. Because sometimes, bro, courage is more important than survival. The Council has chosen to meet with these beings. We will do our duty. On the Aegis of Terra, Commander Hana was preparing the transmission package. She was a small woman with quick fingers and a brilliant mind. Her job was communications, and she took it very seriously. Ambassador, she said to Yuna, the full message is ready. It includes our history, our culture, our science, and our intentions. Do you want to review it one more time? Yuna shook her head. I have reviewed it 100 times already. I know every word. Send it when we reach transmission range. Yes, Ambassador. Captain Tay walked over to join them. He had changed into his formal uniform for the occasion. The dark blue fabric was decorated with medals from his years of service. He looked like what he was, a warrior who had earned his rank through bravery and skill. How are you feeling? He asked Yuna. Like I am about to jump off a cliff and hope there is water at the bottom. Tay smiled. A good description. I felt the same way in my first battle. This is not a battle, Captain. No, but in some ways it is more important than any battle I have ever fought. If we fail here, humanity might face a war against the entire galaxy. If we succeed, we might gain allies that will help us for generations. Lieutenant Wu spoke up from his station. We are entering transmission range, Captain. Tay nodded to Hana. Send the message. Hana pressed the button. Across the void of space, a beam of information shot toward Haven Point. It traveled at the speed of light, carrying the hopes of an entire species. On the space station, receiving equipment came alive. Data began flowing into the Council's translation systems. High Observer Krell watched the information appear on his screens. They call themselves humans, he reported to the Council chamber through a live feed. They come from a planet called Earth in a star system at the far edge of the galaxy. In the Council chamber, High Speaker Voss leaned forward in his seat. What do they want? Krell read through the data quickly. His 4 eyes moved back and forth across the screens. They say they have been alone for a long time. They did not know other intelligent species existed. They are here to make contact and to offer friendship. Representative Mox made a sound of disbelief. Friendship? They arrive in a warship the size of a moon and claim they want friendship? The message addresses this, Krell continued. They say they brought their warship not as a threat, but as proof of what they can offer. They want the Council to see their capabilities clearly. They believe honesty is the foundation of good relationships. Representative Tala's transparent skin flickered with thought patterns. That is interesting. Most species try to hide their strength when making first contact. They pretend to be weaker than they are. These humans do the opposite. They are either very wise or very foolish, Voss said quietly. Continue, observer. What else do they say? Krell scrolled through more of the message. His expression changed as he read. Surprise, confusion, then something like respect. They share their history openly, he reported. They had a great war on their home planet long ago. Millions of their people died. Their civilization was almost destroyed. But they rebuilt. They learned from their mistakes. They expanded into space and created new colonies across many star systems. A warlike species that learned peace, Tal observed. Rare, but not unknown. There is more. Krell's voice became strange. They have been traveling through space for 200 of their years. In that time, they have encountered no other intelligent life. They thought they were alone in the universe. The council chamber went silent. Every representative understood what this meant. They had no one to trade with, Voss said slowly. No one to learn from. No one to help them. Everything they have, they built themselves. That ship, Mox whispered. They created that ship with no outside help? No technology sharing? No ancient knowledge from older species? According to their message, yes. Krell looked directly at the camera feeding to the council. Honored members, I believe we have underestimated these beings. They are not primitive newcomers. They are a civilization that rose to greatness entirely on their own. Ambassador Yuna stood on the bridge of the Aegis of Terra, waiting for a response. The minutes felt like hours. She tried to keep her face calm, but inside she was nervous. Any reply yet? She asked. Officer Nari checked their systems. Not yet, Ambassador. They are probably still processing our message. It was very long. Too long, maybe. Perhaps we should have kept it simple. Captain Tay shook his head. No, you were right to share everything. Hidden information leads to suspicion. Better to show them exactly who we are from the beginning. Even the parts about our wars? Our weapons? The terrible things we did to each other. Especially those parts. If we hide our darkness, they will think we are hiding other things too. By showing them our mistakes, we prove that we can be trusted to tell the truth. Lieutenant Wu suddenly sat up straighter at his station. Captain, I am detecting movement on the station. Docking ports are opening. Ships? One ship, small. It appears to be a diplomatic vessel. Nari confirmed this. We are receiving a transmission. Text only. It says, "The Galactic Council welcomes the people of Earth. High Speaker. Voss requests the honor of a direct meeting with your representative. Please respond with your intentions." Yuna felt relief flood through her body. They were willing to talk. That was the first step. Send our response, she said. Tell them Ambassador Yuna of Earth accepts the invitation. Ask where they would like to meet. The reply came quickly. They suggest meeting on their diplomatic vessel. It is neutral territory. They will come to us. Tay frowned slightly. They want to board the Aegis? No, Captain. They want to meet on their ship, but in the space between their station and our fleet. A middle ground. Smart, Tay admitted. They do not want to seem like they are surrendering by coming to us, but they also do not want to seem threatening by demanding we come to them. These beings understand diplomacy, Yuna said. That is a good sign. An hour later, the small council ship arrived at the meeting point. It was a graceful vessel, shaped like a curved leaf. Its hull was painted white and gold. Compared to the massive human ships around it, it looked like a delicate piece of art. Ambassador Yuna boarded a shuttle with Officer Nari and 2 guards. The shuttle was small and fast, designed for exactly this kind of mission. It crossed the distance to the council ship in minutes. When the shuttle docked and the doors opened, Yuna got her first look at an alien being. High Speaker Voss stood waiting for her. He was tall and thin, with gray skin covered in fine scales. His eyes were large and dark, like pools of still water. He wore robes of deep purple that marked his position as leader of the council. Behind him stood two other beings. One was High Observer Krell, his four eyes studying the humans with obvious curiosity. The other was a creature Yuna did not recognize, a being made of what looked like living crystal, light flickering inside its transparent body. Yuna stepped forward and bowed in the formal way of her culture. High Speaker Voss, thank you for agreeing to meet with us. I am Ambassador Yuna of Earth, representing the United Human Federation. Voss returned the bow, bending his thin body with surprising grace. Ambassador Yuna, welcome to the galactic community. I admit your arrival has caused quite a stir among my colleagues. I imagine it has. A ship like ours is not easy to ignore. No, it is not. Voss's large eyes moved past Yuna, looking through the shuttle's window at the distant shape of the Aegis of Terra. Your vessel is remarkable. I have been watching the galaxy for many lifetimes, and I have never seen anything like it. We call it the Titan class. The Aegis of Terra is the first of its kind. The first? Krell spoke up, his voice sharp with surprise. You mean you plan to build more? Yuna met his gaze calmly. We have plans for 3 more. Construction has already begun. The crystal beam made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. The council representatives exchanged worried looks. Voss raised a hand to calm them. Please, let us sit and talk properly. Ambassador, would you honor us by joining you? 3 days had passed since the first meeting between Ambassador Yuna and High Speaker Voss. The human fleet remained in position near Haven Point Station. Diplomatic talks were continuing. Progress was being made, but not everyone in the galaxy was happy about this. In a dark region of space far from the Council's eyes, a secret meeting was taking place. 7 ships floated in the shadow of a dead moon. They belonged to no official nation. Their crews owed loyalty to no government. They were the Broken Claw, a faction of raiders and extremists who hated the Council and everything it stood for. Their leader was a creature named Tor. He was massive, covered in thick black fur, with claws that could tear through metal. His species, the Gorath, had been rejected by the Council centuries ago because of their violent nature. Tor had never forgiven this insult. The Council grows weak, Tor growled to his captains. They invite these humans into our galaxy. They smile and bow before a species no one has ever seen before. It is disgusting. What do you want us to do, Commander? Asked one of his captains, a scarred female named Kira. I want to show the galaxy that the Council cannot protect anyone. I want to destroy this meeting before it goes any further. Tor's yellow eyes glowed with hatred. We will attack the human fleet. We will prove that these newcomers are not as powerful as they seem. Commander, the reports say their ship is enormous. Our weapons may not be enough. Tor laughed, a deep and ugly sound. Reports from frightened Council observers. They probably exaggerated the size to excuse their own fear. No ship could really be that large. It would be impossible to build. Impossible to power. The Council is lying to make the humans seem more impressive than they are. The captains looked at each other nervously, but none of them dared to argue with Tor. They had seen what happened to those who questioned him. We attack in 6 hours, Tor declared. Prepare your ships. Load all weapons. Today, the Broken Claw will show the galaxy what true warriors look like. On the Aegis of Terra, life continued normally. The crew went about their duties. Engineers checked systems. Pilots ran training simulations. Soldiers practiced their drills. Everything was routine. Lieutenant Wu was monitoring the sensor station when he noticed something strange. A small disturbance at the edge of their detection range. It appeared and disappeared quickly, like a ghost in the darkness. "Officer Nari," he said, "can you check something for me? I thought I saw a sensor contact, but it vanished." Nari walked over to his station and looked at the readings. Her eyes narrowed. "That is unusual. Could be a malfunction. Could be debris. Or it could be someone trying to hide from us." They exchanged a worried look. "I will inform the captain," Nari said. Captain Tay was in his ready room, reviewing reports, when Nari entered. He listened to her explanation with growing concern. "Ships trying to approach without being detected," he said slowly. "That is not the behavior of friends." "No, Captain, it is not." Tay stood up and walked to his window. Outside, the stars shone peacefully. Haven Point Station glittered in the distance. The Council's diplomatic ship was still docked nearby, with meetings scheduled for later today. "We've made a good start with the Council," Tay said. "I do not want anything to ruin that. But I also cannot ignore a possible threat." "What are your orders, sir?" Tay thought for a moment. Then he made his decision. "Raise our alert status to level 2. Do it quietly. I do not want to alarm the Council or make them think we are preparing to attack. But I want every station manned and every system ready. If something happens, we need to respond immediately." "Yes, Captain." Word spread quickly through the ship. Crew members moved to their posts without making a fuss. Weapon systems hummed to life behind closed panels. Shields powered up to standby mode. The Aegis of Terra looked peaceful on the outside, but inside it was waking up like a sleeping tiger opening its eyes. Commander Hana noticed a change and came to the bridge. "What is happening, Captain? Are we expecting trouble?" "Possibly. We detected something strange on sensors. It could be nothing, but I'm not taking chances. Should we warn the Council?" Tay hesitated. "Not yet. If I am wrong, we will look paranoid. We might damage the trust we have built. Let us wait and see what happens." On Haven Point Station, Ambassador Yuna was preparing for another meeting with High Speaker Voss. She had spent hours studying Council history, trying to understand the complex relationships between the different species. It was exhausting work, but she found it fascinating. "Ambassador," said her assistant, a young man named June, "the shuttle is ready. We should leave soon." "Thank you, June. I will be right there." Yuna took one last look in the mirror. She straightened her clothes and practiced her diplomatic smile. Then she headed for the shuttle bay. The trip to the Council ship took only minutes. The small craft moved smoothly through space, passing the massive hull of the Aegis on the way. Yuna looked out the window at her flagship. It never stopped amazing her how big it was, how powerful, how beautiful in its own way. She was still looking at it when the attack began. The broken claw ships emerged from their hiding spots all at once. 7 vessels, each one armed with the most powerful weapons the black market could provide. They had approached using stealth technology, hiding in the sensor shadows of asteroids and debris. Now they revealed themselves with a storm of fire. Missiles launched from every ship. Energy beams cut through the darkness. All of it aimed at the Aegis of Tara. On the bridge, alarms screamed. "Attack incoming!" Lieutenant Wu shouted. Multiple contacts. Missiles and beam weapons. Captain Tay was in his command chair instantly. "Shields to maximum. All hands to battle stations. Do not return fire until I give the order." The Aegis shuddered as the first missiles hit. But the shudder was gentle, almost soft, like a giant feeling raindrops on its skin. On the sensor displays, Wu watched in amazement as the missiles reached the ship's shields and simply stopped. The warheads exploded, yes, but the explosions were absorbed. swallowed by layers of energy that the enemy weapons could not penetrate. Shield status? Tay demanded. Shields at 99.8%, Captain. The enemy weapons are barely making contact. More missiles hit. More beams struck the hull. The broken claw ships poured everything they had into the attack. It was a volume of fire that would have destroyed any Council vessel many times over. The Aegis of Terra did not even notice. On Haven Point Station, High Observer Krull watched in stunned silence. His four eyes could not believe what they were seeing. 7 ships were attacking the human vessel with enough firepower to crack a small moon. And the human ship was just sitting there, taking the hits, ignoring them. Impossible, Krull whispered. This is impossible. High Speaker Voss stood beside him, his old face pale with shock. Their shields. Look at their shields. The weapons do nothing. Our strongest warships could not survive that attack. Our shields would have failed in seconds. And theirs have not even flickered. In her shuttle, Ambassador Yuna watched the battle with her heart pounding. She trusted Captain Tay. She trusted her ship. But seeing it being attacked was terrifying. She gripped her seat tightly and forced herself to breathe. "Turn us around," she told the pilot. "Get us back to the Aegis." "Ambassador, it might be safer to..." "Now, pilot. My place is with my ship." The shuttle turned and raced back toward the flagship. On the Aegis bridge, Tay studied the enemy ships on his display. 7 vessels. Small, fast, heavily armed for their size. Pirates or mercenaries, probably. Definitely not official council forces. "Officer Nari, open a channel to those ships." Nari's fingers moved across her console. "Channel open, Captain." Tay's voice was calm and cold. "Unknown vessels. This is Captain Tay of the Aegis of Terra. You are attacking a ship of the United Human Federation. Cease fire immediately and surrender. This is your only warning." The response came in the form of more missiles. "They are not interested in talking," Wu observed. "No," Tay agreed. "They are not." He turned to his weapons officer, a quiet woman named Mina. "Lieutenant Mina, target the lead ship. Fire 1 warning shot. Miss on purpose. Make it close enough that they understand what will happen if they do not stop." "Yes, yes." "Captain, the main gun of the Aegis of Terra was called the Solar Lance. It was a weapon of terrible power, designed to crack the shields of enemy capital ships. In all of humanity's history, it had only been fired in combat twice. Both times, the target had been completely destroyed. Now, for the first time, it fired a warning shot. A beam of pure white light shot across space. It passed just meters in front of Tor's flagship, so close that the heat scorched the paint on the hull. The energy discharge alone was enough to temporarily blind every sensor on the broken claw ships. Tor stumbled on his bridge, his fur standing on end from the static electricity that filled the air. His crew screamed in fear. The weapon had not even hit them, and yet they had felt its power. What was that? Kira shouted over the communication channel. "Commander, what was that?" For the first time in his life, Tor felt real fear. He had called the council reports exaggerations. He had said no ship could really be that powerful. He had been wrong. So terribly wrong. "Commander." Captain Tay's voice came through the channel again. "That was a warning. The next shot will not miss. Surrender now, or I will destroy your fleet." Tor looked at his tactical display. His weapons had done nothing to the human ship. Not even a scratch. And that beam, that the attack by the broken claw, changed everything. Before that day, the Council had viewed humanity with curiosity and caution. Now they viewed them with something much deeper. Some called it respect. Some called it awe. A few, though they would not admit it, called it fear. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was the largest meeting room in known space. It could hold representatives from over 500 species. Its ceiling was made of transparent crystal that showed the stars above. Its walls were covered with the flags and symbols of every member civilization. Today, it was completely full. Every seat was taken. Every representative was present. They had come from across the galaxy to hear what the humans would say. Ambassador Yuna stood at the central podium. Captain Tay stood beside her. Behind them, projected on a massive screen, was an image of the Aegis of Terra floating peacefully among the stars. It was a reminder, a gentle but clear reminder of what humanity was capable of. High Speaker Voss rose to address the assembly. His voice was amplified to reach every corner of the chamber. Members of the Council, we gather today at a historic moment. A new species has come to our galaxy. They call themselves humans. They have shown us their strength. They have shown us their technology. Now, they wish to show us their intentions. Ambassador Yuna, the floor is yours. Yuna stepped forward. Her heart was beating fast, but her voice was steady. Thank you, High Speaker. Honored members of the Galactic Council, I am grateful for this opportunity to speak. She paused and looked around the chamber. Hundreds of alien eyes looked back at her. Some were curious. Some were hostile. Some were simply waiting to see what she would do. 3 days ago, Yuna continued, our ship was attacked. 7 vessels fired upon us with everything they had. They tried to destroy us. They tried to send a message that humans are not welcome in this galaxy. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Our shields held. Our crew was safe. And when the attackers realized they could not hurt us, we did not destroy them. We did not kill them. We captured them and handed them over to council authorities for justice. She let that sink in. Some of you may wonder why we showed mercy. After all, they attacked us first. By the laws of most civilizations, we would have been justified in defending ourselves with deadly force. But we chose not to. Representative Mox stood up. His blue fur was bristling. Ambassador, if I may ask, why? If you have such power, why not use it? What do you want from us? Yuna turned to face him directly. Representative Mox, that is an excellent question, and I will answer it honestly. She walked to the edge of the podium, getting closer to the assembled representatives. Humanity has been alone for a very long time. We spent 200 years traveling through the stars, searching for other life. We found beautiful worlds. We found amazing phenomena. But we found no one to share them with. No one to talk to. No one to learn from. Do you understand what that loneliness felt like? The chamber was silent. We began to believe that we were the only intelligent species in the universe. That thought was terrifying. Not because we feared being alone forever, but because we feared what it would do to us. A species with no one to compare itself to. No one to challenge its ideas. No one to keep it humble. That path leads to arrogance, to cruelty, to the worst parts of our nature. She turned back to face the full assembly. So when we discovered that the galaxy was filled with life, we were not afraid. We were relieved. Finally, we had found others. Finally, we could become part of something larger than ourselves. Finally, we could learn and grow in ways that isolation would never allow. Captain Tay stepped forward to stand beside her. His voice was deeper than hers, used to giving orders on a starship bridge. The ambassador speaks of hope, he said. I will speak of practicality. Humanity has great power. Our ships, our weapons, our technology, all of it is advanced beyond what your civilizations have achieved. This is not an insult. It is simply a fact. Some representatives made angry sounds, but Tay continued. We could use this power to conquer. We could take what we want by force. But what would that give us? More resources? We have plenty. More territory? We have more worlds than we can settle. More glory? Glory means nothing if no one respects you for earning it. He let his words settle over the chamber. Conquest would make us tyrants. It would make us alone again, surrounded by slaves instead of friends. Every species we dominated would hate us. Every planet we took would resist us. We would spend all our energy holding on to things instead of building new things. That is not the future humanity wants. Yuna spoke again. So here is what we demand. The word echoed through the chamber. Demand. Such a strong word from a species that claimed to want peace. We demand the right to be your equals. Not your masters. Not your servants. Your equals. Confusion spread through the assembly. That was not what they had expected. We demand the right to trade with you fairly, to exchange knowledge and technology for mutual benefit, to learn from your experiences and share what we have learned. Still, the representatives listened, uncertain where this was going. We demand the right to join your alliance as partners, to help defend the peaceful species of this galaxy against those who would harm them, to stand beside you against common threats. Yuna's voice grew stronger. We demand the right to be judged by our actions, not by our power. We know that our strength frightens some of you. We know that our technology seems impossible. But power does not make a species good or evil. Actions do. Choices do. We ask for the chance to prove what kind of people we are. She took a deep breath for her final demand. And we demand the right to have friends. Real friends. Species that see us not as weapons to be used or threats to be feared, but as fellow travelers on the great journey of existence. We have been alone for too long. We refuse to be alone any longer. The chamber erupted into noise. Representatives talked over each other. Some were arguing. Some were questioning. Some were simply trying to process what they had heard. High Speaker Voss raised his hand for silence. It took several minutes for the noise to die down. Ambassador Yuna, Voss said, you speak of demands, but these sound more like requests. Requests that many of us might be willing to grant. What happens if we say no? What happens if the Council rejects your offer of friendship? Yuna considered the question carefully. Every eye in the chamber was on her. If you reject us, she said finally, we will leave. We will return to our space and continue our existence without you. We will not attack you. We will not threaten you. We will simply go. And you would accept that? You would accept rejection? It would break our hearts. But yes, we would accept it. Because friendship cannot be forced. Alliance cannot be built on fear. If you do not want us, then having us would do you no good anyway. Officer Nari, who had accompanied them as an aide, stepped forward with a data device. She handed it to Yuna. However, Yuna said, before you make that decision, we want you to see something. This device contains the full specifications of a medical technology we developed, a treatment for cellular decay that extends healthy lifespan significantly. It works on most carbon-based life forms. It could benefit every species in this chamber. She held up the device. This is a gift. Whether you accept our friendship or not, this technology is yours. We give it freely, with no conditions attached. The chamber went absolutely silent. Lifespan extension was the holy grail of medical science. Species had searched for it for millennia, and the humans were giving it away. Why? Representative Tala's voice was barely a whisper. Why would you give us something so valuable? Because gifts are how friendships begin, Yuna answered. Because generosity is the foundation of trust. And because we believe that the galaxy will be a better place when its people live longer, healthier lives. That benefits everyone, including us. Captain Tay spoke up. The ambassador has explained what we offer. Let me explain what we ask in return. He activated a holographic display that appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a map of the galaxy with various regions highlighted. This green region is human space. These blue regions are Council territory. And these red areas are zones of conflict, piracy, and lawlessness. The representatives looked at the map. The red zones were scattered throughout the galaxy, some of them uncomfortably close to populated systems. We propose a joint patrol program, Tay continued. Human warships working alongside Council vessels to protect trade routes and civilian populations. We have the firepower. You have the knowledge of local conditions. Together, we could eliminate these threats in a matter of years. You would share your military secrets with us? Asked one of the representatives. We would share our protection with you. Our ships. Our soldiers. Our commitment to keeping innocent people safe. Tay's voice was firm. In exchange, we ask only that you treat us as partners. That you share information with us. That you welcome our people when they visit your worlds. High Speaker Voss stood again. The old leader looked like he had aged even more during this session. The weight of the decision before him was enormous. Ambassador Yuna, Captain Tay, you have given us much to consider. Your demands are unusual. Your offers are G. The council debated for 7 days. 7 days of arguments and speeches and votes that went nowhere. 7 days of representatives shouting at each other across the great chamber. 7 days of fear fighting hope and suspicion fighting curiosity. On the aegis of Terra, the human crew waited. They went about their duties. They maintained their stations. But everyone knew that their future was being decided in the halls of Haven Point Station. Ambassador Yuna spent those days in her quarters, preparing for every possible outcome. She wrote speeches for acceptance. She wrote speeches for rejection. She planned for alliance and she planned for withdrawal. The stress showed in the dark circles under her eyes. Captain Tay checked on her often. He brought her meals she forgot to eat. He reminded her to sleep when she worked too late. He was a warrior, not a diplomat, but he understood that Yuna was fighting her own kind of battle. You should rest, he told her on the 6th night. I cannot rest. There is too much at stake. You have done everything you can. The decision is not in your hands anymore. Yuna looked up from her work. That is what terrifies me, Captain. I have spent my whole career trying to control situations, to guide outcomes. Now I can only wait. I hate waiting. Tay sat down across from her. When I was young, before my first battle, my commander told me something I have never forgotten. He said that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing what must be done despite the fear. You have shown more courage in these past 2 weeks than most soldiers show in their entire lives. I do not feel courageous. I feel like I am going to be sick. That means you understand what is at stake. A fool would be confident. You are not a fool. A message came through the next morning. The 7th day. The council had reached a decision. They wanted Yuna to return to the chamber to hear the results. Yuna dressed carefully in her finest diplomatic clothes. She brushed her hair until it shone. She checked her appearance in the mirror a dozen times. Then she headed to the shuttle bay. Captain Tay was waiting for her with a small group of officers. Officer Nari, Lieutenant Wu, Commander Hala, the people who had been with her through this entire journey. We wanted to see you off, Tay said. Whatever happens today, Ambassador, we are proud to have served with you. Yuna felt tears threatening to form. She blinked them back. Thank you, all of you. I could not have done this without your support. You could have, Nari said with a small smile. But we are glad you did not have to. The shuttle ride to the council chamber felt like it took forever. Una sat in silence, watching the stars pass by the window. She thought about Earth, the home world she had left behind years ago. She thought about her parents, long dead now, who had always told her she would do great things. She wondered if they would be proud of her today. The chamber was even more crowded than before. Representatives had brought assistants and advisors. Media drones floated above the crowd, recording everything. The whole galaxy was watching. High Speaker Voss stood at the central podium. His old face was tired but calm. He waited for Una to take her place before he began to speak. Members of the Council, citizens of the galaxy, we have deliberated for 7 days on the matter of humanity. We have heard arguments for acceptance and arguments for rejection. We have considered the evidence and weighed the risks. Now it is time to announce our decision. Una's heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. First, let me acknowledge the concerns that many have raised. Humanity is powerful. Their technology is advanced beyond our understanding. Their military capabilities are unprecedented. Some have argued that allowing such a species into our alliance would be dangerous, that we would be inviting a wolf into our home. Una gripped her hands together, trying to keep them from shaking. However, Voss continued, others have pointed out that humanity had every opportunity to conquer us by force. They could have destroyed the attack fleet that came against them. They could have demanded tribute instead of trade. They could have threatened us into submission. But they did none of these things. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Instead, they offered us gifts. Medical technology that will save billions of lives. Military protection for our vulnerable systems. Partnership based on equality rather than dominance. They asked for nothing more than what any species would ask for: respect, friendship, and a place among the stars. Voss paused and looked directly at Una. Ambassador Una, your people came to us from the darkness of isolation. You found us after centuries of searching. You showed us your strength, but more importantly, you showed us your character. You demonstrated mercy when anger would have been justified. You offered generosity when selfishness would have been understood. He raised his hand, and a holographic display appeared above his head. It showed a single symbol, a circle made of interlocking hands, representing the many species of the Council. The Galactic Council has voted. The result is 472 in favor, 23 opposed, and 5 abstaining. Una felt the world spin around her. She could barely believe what she was hearing. The motion carries with overwhelming support. Humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council with all rights and responsibilities that this status includes. You are no longer visitors in our galaxy. You are family. The chamber erupted into cheers. Not everyone was cheering, but most were. Representatives stood and applauded. Some rushed forward to congratulate Una. Others began talking excitedly about the possibilities that lay ahead. Una stood frozen for a moment. Tears ran down her cheeks. She did not try to stop them this time. "Thank you," she whispered. Then, louder, "Thank you. Thank you all." High Speaker Voss made his way through the crowd to stand before her. The old leader took her hands in his. Ambassador Una, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity to the family of civilizations. May this day mark the beginning of a friendship that lasts forever. High Speaker Voss. Una's voice was thick with emotion. Humanity accepts this honor with gratitude and humility. We promise to be worthy of the trust you have placed in us. I believe you will be. Voss's dark eyes were warm. I have lived a very long time, Ambassador. I have seen species rise and fall. I have witnessed great achievements and terrible disasters. But in all my years, I have never seen a first contact like this one. You humans are something new, something remarkable. I'm glad I lived long enough to see it. News of the Council's decision spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On 1,000 worlds, in 1,000,000 cities, beings of every shape and size learned that a new species had joined the cosmic community. Some celebrated, some worried. All wondered what the future would hold. On the aegis of Terra, Captain Tay announced the news to the crew. The cheering was so loud it could be heard in every corridor of the massive ship. Soldiers hugged each other. Engineers laughed with joy. Even the most disciplined officers allowed themselves to smile. Lieutenant Wu found Officer Nari in the observation lounge, looking out at the stars. "We did it," he said softly. "We actually did it." Nari nodded. "Humanity has a place in the galaxy now. Our children will grow up knowing they are not alone. It still does not feel real. Give it time. Soon enough, we will be trading with aliens, exploring with aliens, maybe even falling in love with aliens." She laughed. The universe just got a lot more interesting. Commander Hannah joined them. "The ambassador is returning." Captain wants senior staff on the bridge to welcome her back. They made their way through the ship, passing crew members who were still celebrating. When they reached the bridge, they found Captain Tay standing at attention near the main entrance. The doors opened. Ambassador Yuna walked in. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Tay stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Ambassador Yuna, on behalf of the crew of the Aegis of Terra, congratulations. You have achieved what our ancestors only dreamed of. You have given humanity a home among the stars." Yuna returned the bow. "Thank you, Captain. But this achievement belongs to all of us. Every person on this ship played a role. Every human who ever looked up at the night sky and wondered if we were alone contributed to this moment." She turned to address the entire bridge crew. "Today, the galaxy changed. But our work is not finished. In many ways, it is just beginning. We must prove that the Council's trust was well placed. We must show that humanity can be a force for good. We must build the bridges of friendship and cooperation that will connect all worlds to countless others." Her voice grew strong with conviction. "Some will say that the Council only accepted us because they fear our power. Perhaps that is true for some of them. But fear fades. What remains is what we build together. Trade routes and cultural exchanges. Scientific partnerships and military alliances. Friendships between individuals that grow into bonds between civilizations." She looked out the window at the stars. "Our ancestors survived ice ages and plagues. They survived wars and disasters. They survived their own worst impulses and learned to be better. Now we carry their legacy into a new chapter. A chapter where humanity stands among the stars as equals, as partners, as members of a community that spans the galaxy." She turned back to the crew. "I am proud of every one of you. I am proud of our ship and our species and our future. Now let us begin the work of earning that future." Applause filled the bridge. Yuna smiled through fresh tears. The stars had always been quiet in Sector 7. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had watched over this region of space. They had mapped every asteroid. They had counted every moon. They had recorded every ship that passed through the darkness between worlds. Nothing surprised them anymore. Nothing scared them anymore. Until today, High Observer Crow stood in the central command station of the Council's monitoring outpost. He was a tall creature with gray skin and 4 eyes that could see in multiple spectrums of light. His people, the Vorn, had served as the watchers of the galaxy for generations. They were proud of their work. They believed they knew everything that moved in the black emptiness of space. Crow was drinking his morning nutrition, fluid when the alarm started screaming. The sound was so loud and so sudden that he dropped his container. Green liquid spilled across the metal floor. But Krell did not care about the mess. He was staring at his display screen with all four of his eyes wide open. "This cannot be real," he whispered. The sensors were detecting something emerging from hyperspace. This was normal. Ships came and went all the time. But the size of this object was not normal. It was not normal at all. "Computer," Krell said, his voice shaking. "Confirm the size reading of the incoming vessel." The computer's calm voice answered him. "Confirmed. Incoming vessel measures approximately 47 kilometers in length, 22 kilometers in width, 15 kilometers in height." Krell felt his heart stop beating for a moment. The largest ship in the entire Galactic Council fleet was the Grand Admiral's flagship. That ship was 4 kilometers long. The Council had always been proud of it. They had called it the greatest achievement of their civilization. The thing coming out of hyperspace was almost 12 times bigger. "Send an emergency message to the Council immediately," Krell ordered. "Priority 1. All members must see this." Far away, in the great chamber where the Galactic Council held their meetings, hundreds of representatives from different species were going about their normal business. They were arguing about trade routes. They were discussing mining rights. They were complaining about taxes. The usual things. Then every screen in the chamber turned red. The image of High Observer Krell appeared before them. His gray face was pale with fear. His 4 eyes were blinking rapidly. "Honored members of the Council," Krell said. "An unknown vessel of impossible size has entered Sector 7. I am transmitting sensor data now." The numbers appeared on every screen. The representatives went silent. Some of them made sounds of disbelief. Others simply stared with their mouths hanging open. "Impossible," said Representative Mox, a short creature covered in blue fur. "Our sensors must be broken." "I have checked them 7 times, Krell replied. "They are working perfectly. This ship is real. It is here, and it is not alone." The image changed to show a view of space. Against the background of distant stars, something massive was taking shape. It was emerging from hyperspace slowly, like a sea creature rising from deep water. First came the front of the ship, a wedge-shaped section covered in strange symbols and metal plates. Then came the main body, a mountain of steel and technology that seemed to go on forever. The ship was painted in colors of dark blue and silver. Strange markings decorated its hull. They were not in any language the Council knew. "What species built this?" asked Representative Tala, a thin being with transparent skin. "Unknown," Krell answered. "The ship's design matches nothing in our database. The metal composition is unfamiliar. The energy signature is like nothing we have ever seen." On the bridge of that massive ship, Captain Tay stood with his hands behind his back. He was a human man of 52 years. His hair was gray at the edges. His face had the lines of someone who had seen many battles. But his eyes were calm. His breathing was steady. He looked out through the main viewing window at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, alien sensors were watching them. Alien eyes were seeing humans for the first time. "Status report," Tay said quietly. Lieutenant Wu, a young man with sharp eyes and quick hands, checked his console. "All systems are operating normally, Captain. Shields are at full power. Weapons are on standby. The crew is at their stations." "Good," Tay nodded slowly. "And our escorts?" Behind the massive Titan-class warship, 8 smaller vessels followed in perfect formation. They were called Defender-class cruisers. Each one was 3 kilometers long. In any other fleet, they would have been the largest ships. Here, they looked like small fish swimming behind a whale. Officer Nari, a woman with kind eyes but a sharp mind, spoke up from her station. "All escort vessels report ready, Captain. Commander Hyan on the Soul's Pride sends his regards." He says his crew is excited to meet the aliens. A small smile crossed Tay's face. Tell Commander Hyan to keep his excitement under control. We are here to make friends, not to show off. With respect, Captain, said Lieutenant Wu, I think we are doing both. This was true. The ship they stood on was called the Aegis of Terra. It was humanity's first Titan-class warship. Building it had taken 15 years and the resources of 3 solar systems. Every piece of technology inside it represented the best that humans could create. It was a ship made for war. But today, it had come in peace. Ambassador Yuna walked onto the bridge. She was a woman in her 40s, with long black hair tied back in a simple style. Her clothes were formal, but not fancy. She believed in looking professional without looking proud. Captain Tay, she said. Are we in position? Almost, Ambassador. We will reach the designated coordinates in 10 minutes. Yuna nodded and walked to stand beside him. Together, they looked out at the stars. Nervous? Tay asked her. Terrified, Yuna admitted. We have spent 200 years building our civilization after the Great War. We have explored thousands of star systems. We have created technology that our ancestors could not imagine. And yet, this is the moment that will define us. First contact with an alien civilization, Tay said. The history books will talk about this day forever. If we do not mess it up. Tay turned to look at her. Ambassador, I have known you for 20 years. You are the smartest diplomat humanity has ever produced. If anyone can make this work, it is you. Yuna smiled, but her eyes were still worried. The Council has been watching the galaxy for thousands of years. They think they know everything. They think they are the most advanced civilizations in existence. And now we arrive in a ship that makes their entire fleet look like toys. You think they will be scared of us? I think they will be terrified. And scared beings do stupid things. Back in the council chamber, the representatives were indeed terrified. They had called an emergency session. Every member was present. The chamber was filled with hundreds of different species, all of them talking at once. We must attack immediately, shouted Representative Mox. Before they attack us. Attack that ship? With what? Replied Representative Tala. Our weapons would bounce off its hull like raindrops. Then we must run. We must evacuate the sector. And go where? If they have ships like that, they could follow us anywhere. The High Speaker of the Council, an ancient being named Voss, raised his hand for silence. He was old even by the standards of his long-lived species. His skin was wrinkled and gray. His eyes were cloudy, but his mind was still sharp. We will do neither, Voss said. His voice was quiet but somehow filled the entire chamber. We will wait. We will watch. We will try to communicate. Communicate? Mox sounded horrified. They could destroy us all. They could, Voss agreed. But they have not. The ship has stopped at the edge of our space. It has not come closer. It has not charged its weapons. It seems to be waiting. The representatives fell silent. They had not thought about this. Perhaps, Voss continued, these beings, whoever they are, want to talk. Perhaps they came here not to conquer, but to introduce themselves. Or perhaps they are studying our defenses before they attack, Mox muttered. Also possible. But we lose nothing by trying to speak with them first. Voss turned to his communication officer. Open a channel. Send a standard greeting in all known languages. Let us see if these strangers will answer. On the Aegis of Terra, a soft beeping sound came from Officer Nari's station. She looked at her display and raised her eyebrows. Captain, Ambassador, we are receiving a transmission from a nearby station. It appears to be a greeting message, sent in multiple languages. Yuna felt her heart beat faster. Can we understand any of them? Our translation systems are working on it. They seem to be mathematical in nature. Basic greetings. Questions about who we are and what we want. Standard first contact protocols, Tay observed. Just like we would do. Yuna took a deep breath. This was the moment. Everything she had trained for. Everything humanity had worked toward. Send our response, she said. Use the package we prepared. Include our mathematical proof of intelligence, our star charts showing where we came from, and our message of peaceful intentions. Nari's fingers moved across her console. Message sent. Now they would wait. Across the cold emptiness of space, two civilizations were reaching out to touch each other for the first time. The humans stood ready on their massive ship. The council members sat worried in their great chamber, and the universe held its breath. Minutes passed. They felt like hours. Then, finally, a response came. They want to meet, Nari reported.